Rick and Morty Ever After Issue 2. The woman somehow recognizes that Morty's different from the others. Because meta-logic. Because he's the protagonist, and that's it. I don't know her name, and I'm confused by her. And she calls him Simpleton. She asks him if he sees anyone else in here, and says she's the world's greatest sorceress, and wants him to help her take over the kingdom. Why would she think he would want to help her? She's not explaining why she's a better ruler. Morty can barely talk, and she recklessly decides to leave him alone and trust him not to touch anything when he didn't even agree to her request yet. Then a helmeted person tells Morty from a horse that he's here to save him. Morty trusts him because he's a knight in shining armor, but he just tells Morty to stay where he is until nightfall. Why can't he save him right now? No one's watching. Well, I guess he assumes the sorceress will come back into Morty's room any minute because they're awake. It's daytime. It'd be less confusing if that was explained. He wants to get Morty back to the castle soon. I guess Morty chickened out of jumping out of the window. Now he's back to being meek. It's a twist from earlier where he wanted to save himself. The king reminds Rick of Jerry, so Rick has the guts to call him his shithead son-in-law and ignore him. Marius covers for Rick, saying he's had way too many weird potions. Rick's told to deal with the witch. Rick says he can't move, and Jerry says that the most powerful sorceress thought she could run the kingdom better than him. She's gonna remind him of Beth, right? 'Cause he doesn't like her, and he's Jerry. So he had her banished, thinking that a witch would humor him at all. Then their kingdom's kids kept disappearing. Couldn't you just teleport to him and kill him? How limited are her powers? Why disappear kids instead? She got rid of them all just to spite him, apparently. Well, I'm detached. A lot of this seemed arbitrary. So Jerry assumes she eats them to stay young, and Rick makes an excuse not to help, and actually is allowed by the writing to walk away. Then he drinks in the bar and refuses to help someone once again. To be fair, they aren't real people if they're just characters in a book, right? So there's not really kids in danger. They won't exist as people anymore once he leaves this world. Still. Rick drinks the bar dry and is somehow handed a bottle that has a label on it saying, "Do not drink, magical consequences will ensue." Then Rick's told the GPS was activated, and he's able to locate Morty because of it. Lucky for him that he can do that in a planet he never went to before. To be fair, he took the place of a character here if he already has a reputation here. So his past self probably started the GPS. There's a satellite in space to make the GPS work, right? He runs out of the bar without paying a tab, and lampshading that he called Morty a ward for no good reason doesn't mean it's good writing. Morty's not a child, he's a teenager, so it doesn't make sense that he was kidnapped too. And how limited is Rick as a wizard? I guess he's too used to not having powers to immediately get the idea to just teleport Morty back to him, even if he can, or teleport himself. He's used to being more limited. He wants to kill the witch, but Marius wants to make her good with a true love's kiss. I guess because a magical curse makes it possible. Why wouldn't the curse just have her be good in the first place if the curse giver wanted that? This is consistently dumb writing. You can tell by my tone. If the writer knew that Morty wasn't a kid to the point where he had Morty lampshaded, why did he write him to get kidnapped anyways? Teenagers were considered adults in ancient times. Worst case scenario, they were married off. It's so forced that the knight thought he could rescue him by his hair, when he should have seen that he had really short hair right away. Fortunately, Morty finds some rope just by looking around the room he's in, and immediately escapes, making me wonder what took him so long to do this. It sure is convenient that there was rope there in the first place. I don't see what the sorceress would have had to gain by having rope in that room. What was she planning to do with it? Why was there no pane of glass in the window to keep him from escaping? You'd think that a sorceress would have a force field around the place, But I guess she doesn't have a force field ability. Or the ability to conjure up eternal fire in front of the window. Or ice. At first I didn't question this because it was obviously just happening because it was a reference to Rapunzel. But now that I think about it, that escape didn't make any sense. Realistically, he gets rope burn. But finds Silk, the female knight, pretty just because she has long hair and he's lonely. Otherwise, her nose and mustache look awful. How did he not immediately know it's a girl's voice? She annoys me by calling him an adult baby on her horse. Ever since I first saw this knight, I wondered if there was going to be a twist where the knight was untrustworthy and evil, just to have a twist. Because it's an Adult Swim story that's making a plot about a different story, about a fairy tale. It'd be very easy to subvert it by having the knight be evil. But I immediately predicted it, so it would be too predictable. Sure, it's lucky that there's a female knight in medieval times. Totally realistic. Not even in a fairy tale would that happen. They weren't open-minded back then. They waste a lot of time with boring dialogue. Rick and Marius get threatened by a forest monster, and Rick says he has no idea what his stuff does. He throws a vial at it, and knocks it out, and gets hugged. This seems too easy. He stares into a crystal ball. I never trusted the king, by the way. He's told a little girl injured herself on the gears, so Marius wants them to shut down the machinery and reevaluate the system. But he refuses because they're this close. Why can't he just... I guess he's too impatient to wait a little. He says they need more tiny bodies to keep this moving day and night. And he says once it'll be operational, they'll be free of this place. Why does he want to be free of this place? It's everything he knew. And he somehow thinks he'd have a chance at conquering the world outside the book that he must have been made aware of by a magical wizard or crystal ball with psychic powers he turned out to have. The story ends with us seeing that he's using child labor. There's a lot of arbitrary things about this plot too. You'd think a sorceress would make it way harder to escape from a tower. You'd think the knight would have a better plan than to hope his short hair can be used as a ladder for him to escape the tower.